Ant-Man's latest adventure is upon us. From the trailers, as you guys probably guessed, the size-changing superhero clearly wants more time. And who better to ask for it than good old Kang? Let's pick apart some quantum energy, starting off with the introduction of Quaz. William Jackson Harper's role has been a mystery since it was reported that he would join the cast of the third Ant-Man film. Fans began to fill the online space with all sorts of theories about his role. Some even speculated that he may play Reed Richards, the Fantastic Four scientist and inventor. We do need to fill that space, ever since John Krasinski, the previous Reed Richards, has turned into spaghetti. Now that Quaz has been confirmed, what even is this funny named character? Glad you asked. Mr. Quaz is a telepath in the quantum realm. To elaborate, he is a freedom fighter in the quantum realm and works closely with Katie M. O'Brien's Gentora. Quaz battles fervently against the injustices inside the quantum realm's many communities. When it comes to his character, there isn't much information available regarding what he will do. My educated guess is that he'll team up with Scott Lang and the crew to try to beat the big bad, Kang. With little information, comic book enthusiasts have been pointing out how similar his name is to that of a certain character in the comics.
That's why we made this. It's like a satellite for deep space, but quantum.
I'm hinting at Quasar, of course. Over the annals of Marvel Comics, several distinct heroes have taken up the mantle of Quasar. A certain Wendell Vaughn is one of the most recognizable characters. The protagonist was born in Wisconsin and entered the United States Army, where he rose to the rank of a mighty lieutenant. The decorated hero then applied to the SHIELD Academy after leaving the Army. Despite graduating with honors, he lacked the killing instinct required to be a field agent. Sadly, his records put up a disappointing display. Eventually, he was sent to ordinary guard duties at the Stark International Project, where the quantum bands were being explored. Androids from the notoriously criminal group AIM broke in one day while Stark's company was monitoring how the bands interacted. Long story short, the ultimate purpose of AIM was to take the bands, but Vaughn had other plans. In order to safeguard the bands, he put them on and learned the basics of their function, kicking the android's ass in the process. He eventually got a position in SHIELD's Super Agent program, where he underwent very special training, which brings me to my next question.
You've been with these characters for such a long time. What was the most important thing for you in telling this new story? What most excited you?
Are Quaz and Quasar the same person? Although their names appear to be the same, their talents are vastly different. Yes, I'm gonna explain it all, don't worry. You see, while Quaz is a telepath, Quasar does not have telepathic abilities in the comics. Quasar's skills are derived from the quantum bands themselves, which is the polar opposite of Quaz's. Doesn't Quasar give off Shang-Chi vibes? Legend of the Ten Rings? Quantum bands? Same thing? Quasar, like Miss Marvel, has the ability to pull quantum energy using those bracelets. Also, Quasar is immune to telepathy thanks to his usage of the quantum bands. Even if Quaz isn't the same as Quasar in the comics, it will be intriguing to watch how Harper's character plays a role in the upcoming movie. But enough of these extra QQs. Let's talk about what Ant-Man really wants from Kang the Conqueror. Ant-Man and the Wasp. Quantumania's teaser shows Scott Lang being rewarded for his help to Kang. Clearly, we know that an agreement helpful to both sides will be reached at some point during the film. This trait appears to be the core of the movie's narrative, and maybe, just maybe, the catalyst for the inevitable conflict between Kang and Ant-Man. Oh, and that little MMA/UFC sequence between those two at the end was so epic. Both throwing punches and grapples, and getting their faces boxed in by the other was strangely appealing. Some of you may be wondering what's gonna be Ant-Man's tipping point in this snarky deal. Well, your guess is as good as mine at this point. But let's catch up on why Kang is interested in Ant-Man. Apparently, Kang the Conqueror will try to enlist Ant-Man's help in reaching a specific goal. What goal, you ask? Well, this is most probably going to be escaping the quantum realm in order to launch his invasion of the multiverse. Typical for an MCU villain. For the time being, it's unclear why Ant-Man would agree to assist him. According to Kang's statements in the teaser, a longing for lost time will be a major influence in his decision. But the specifics of what Kang has to give are presently unknown. However, one particular theory pretty much explains what Scott could seek and how Kang could keep his pledge.
A swing of a miss. So we're still doing that.
Okay.
Mr. Scott wants back the 5 years he lost. It's been known since Avengers Endgame that the snap had a profound impact on Paul Rudd's character. The guy lost 5 years since the famous Thanos snap took place, while he was within the quantum realm. Cassie Lang, his daughter, was well into her adolescence by the time Dad returned. Even the trailer shows how big of a stomach hit this was for Scott, as his lost years are acknowledged directly by the beloved character. So, you see, this personal conflict will be at the heart of his predicament in the film, as demonstrated by the exchange between Kang and Ant-Man. In the trailer, Marvel gave us a gloomy insight into what Cassie has been up to during Scott's quantum realm years, which allegedly includes jail time. Dang. Scott may be more likely to accept Kang's second chance if he knows his daughter has had a difficult life. This presumably includes him traveling back in time and reliving the years he lost out on between Ant-Man and the Wasp and Avengers Endgame. If there's one thing I've realized from watching way too many sci-fi movies, it's that time travel won't solve any of your problems. The same applies to Mr. Lang. Naturally, Kang's solution to Ant-Man's issue is time travel. Yet this promise for a quick fix, funnily enough, cannot fix all of his difficulties on its own. Kang could theoretically send Ant-Man back in time to be with Cassie. But what would that imply for Scott Lang, who's stuck in the quantum realm? In 5 years, he'll be mistakenly let free by the rat in Endgame. You might want to watch the ending of Endgame to get what I'm talking about. Coming back, this would pose a big time travel problem that Scott, Hank Pym, and the others might not be able to crack. There can't be two versions of the same person in the same time frame, and if there are, there's gonna be heaps of trouble. But there is another solution though.
If it's about the Marvel universe, I'm gonna get a 0.
You can test me. I don't know how I'll do, but we can try.
Kang could send Ant-Man to a completely different timeline. Perhaps the only thing Kang could give Ant-Man that would work is the intentional construction of a branching chronology, or timeline. He Who Remains worked hard to ensure that the TVA pruned these as soon as possible. But the history of his Kang versions, as detailed in Loki, shows that they have a reputation for irresponsibly creating new timelines. Going this route might be what Kang means when he says he can give Scott a second chance. A reality in which Thanos is destroyed by the Avengers during the Battle of Wakanda might provide Scott with a route to a happily ever after with Cassie and Hope that he did not have on Earth 616. But this is Marvel. And that's a wrap on Quantumania and what could be churning in the upcoming movie. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
We've seen her 5 years later. She hasn't seen her dad in a while. She's a little more grown up, but she's kind of just a mess.